Hello and welcome everyone in the third episode of Google Cloud Tasks. So in this episode, we will be finally writing cloud functions to make our Firestore document TTL. But this requires one more thing. You must have the cloud function set up for your Firebase project. So if you don't have, there is no need to worry because we are going to do it from scratch. So let's jump right in. So first of all in here, you have to create an empty directory in your system and simply name it according to your Firebase project name or anything you want. Simply name it Instagram backend and let's rename it to remove this parenthesis from here and put one more underscore. After this, simply you have to open up your terminal. So I will open the terminal. If you are using any operating system, simply open the terminal for that and simply use the cd command to navigate to this directory. First of all, I have this directory on my desktop, so I will go for the desktop and again cd Instagram backend. So now I am in this directory now. Now here you need to run some commands for setting up the cloud functions for your project. The first command here that you need to run is the npm install globally Firebase tools. Install the Firebase tools globally in your machine. Simply hit enter and this will install the Firebase tools globally in your machine. So let's wait for it until it's done. So after the Firebase tools has been installed, there is one more command that you need to run. That is Firebase login. If you're not logged in with your account, simply you have to log in. After running this command, this will ask for login with your account, the account where you have created your Firebase project in the Firebase console. So simply log in with that account so you will be allowed to set up the cloud functions for that project in this directory. So I already have logged in, so simply I will ignore this, and after this there is one more command that we need to run, and that will be the final command to initialize the Firebase functions for our project where we want to write the cloud functions. So simply also run this command. That command will be Firebase initialize or init functions. Simply hit enter. So here it is going to require some configuration for that. It's asking for use an existing project, create new, add Firebase to an existing Google Cloud Platform project, don't set up a default project. So I will select use an existing project because I do have one project in Firebase that I have shown you in the previous sections where we were just seeing the demo of the application. So simply I will use an existing project and here it will show all of my existing project in my account to which I have just logged in. So simply I will select my Instagram social graph from here and simply hit enter to go for that. So it will wait for some few seconds and then it will ask for what language would you like to use to write cloud functions. So simply I will select the TypeScript. So you also have to select TypeScript because that's a beautiful language and give us a simplified way to write code unlike the JavaScript. So simply select the TypeScript and hit enter. And then it will ask for do you want to use ES to catch portable bugs and enforce style. So simply I will select no and go for that. And again it's asking do you want to install the dependency with Node package manager. Now I will simply go for yes, install all of the dependencies that are required. So again we have to wait for some time after it's done. So the final message of this Firebase function initializations is Firebase initializations complete and it has successfully initialized the Firebase functions for us. Now we will be able to write the cloud functions for our project. So that's it. Next, before going forward for writing the cloud functions, here let me show you one thing. That is the same project. Remember from the first video of this series. So for now it's not working. Let me show you how. When I create something like hey disappear after 2 minutes and upload this, and it will come in here and it will never disappear and will remain in the Firestore because we have not write the logic for that yet. But in the demo there were the logic that I have shown you. So in the upcoming episodes, we will be writing the same logic, and you will see it practically that how we can make a Firestore document TTL. And also, not only this, we will also look for how to cancel the already scheduled task as well as taking care of the potential issues of security related to the HTTP request. So you have to stay tuned in order to not miss all of the things that we are going to learn in this series. So anyways, this is the Firestore, and let's reload this. And same in the TTL document, we got a document, and here we have created this post with the description had disappeared after 2 minutes. And here let me show you my scheduled post queue. Here will comes no task and no scheduling because we don't have any logic now. And we are going to write the logic for that, so we will be able to include a task in here, and this will be dispatched at the right time that we have scheduled, and it will delete the document from the Firestore database. So let's see how this is going to be. So open this directory in the VS Code or the WebStorm or any editor you like. So I will open this Instagram backend in my VS Code in order to write the cloud functions for our project. So after opening up the directory in the VS Code or any editor, you will see a simple welcome page and some directories created by the commands that we have run some few minutes before. Here you will see the directory of the functions. Let's open it, and you will also see the source directory. Let's open it up, and the index.ts, that's the default some code written in here. So here will goes our exports of the functions, and we are going to follow the separation of concern to separate each cloud function in the separate file and not mixing up everything in the index.ts. So let's keep everything just as it is, and let's go for installing some necessary dependencies that we are going to require along this project. So let's open up the terminal, and first of all, here you need to navigate to the functions. Go for cd functions, and now we are in the functions directory. And now this is our package.json. If you have ever worked with the Express.js or something like this, creating some basic APIs, so you may be familiar with this. So if you didn't work with this, there is no need to worry because we are going to do everything from scratch. So here in the functions, we are going to install some necessary dependencies. The first dependency that we are going to work with is going to be the Google Cloud Tasks, because we are going to schedule or include a task in the queue, so that will be dispatched at the right time and delete the document from the Firestore. That's it. Now let's go for installing, and we have to run npm node package manager install @google cloud /tasks, and also save it in the dependencies. Now hit enter, and this will start installing the dependency of Google Cloud Tasks. And you can see we got the Google Cloud Task in here, which is what we are going to use later for scheduling the task in the queue. And also there is required one more dependency, that is the Google Auth library. And you will see this why we need this in the last episode of this series. So for now, let's install it. npm install Google Auth library. Install it, and it will also be added here in the dependencies. So now we have dependencies in place. Now it's time to go for creating the directories, and let's write the functions and deploy it, and let's see how this is going to work. So go to the index.ts and select Command A and delete everything from here. Close this terminal, and first of all, here you need to do to export and open the body for that. Here will be exported all of our functions that we want to deploy. So after this, Ctrl S to save this file, and next we are going to create some directories and some files where we will store our functions. So the first directory is going to be the core library or the directory, and the second directory is going to be the post, as we are going to scheduling a post, and in your case it can be anything according to your project requirements. So in the core directory, first of all we will create a Dart file, not a Dart file but the TS file. Here its name will be Firebase admin singleton schedule.ts, and in here we will simply create the singleton for initializing the admin. For initializing the admin, we need an import and the firebase admin.initialize and simply export the firebase admin. So that was it for initializing the firebase admin, and Ctrl S to save this file. And next, in the post directory, let's go for creating a new file and name it schedule post ttl.ts. So here will comes our onCreate trigger, which will be triggered whenever we create a document in the TTL post collection. Here in the TTL post, whenever a single document is created in here, so the function we are going to write, the onCreate trigger, will be triggered and will schedule a task in the queue and will be dispatched after 2 minutes, or in your case it can be any time that you want according to your project requirement. So let's get started by writing the schedule post TTL onCreate trigger. First of all, here we need some imports. That would be the functions from Firebase functions and the cloud task client for scheduling the task in the queue. Next, having these imports, we need to start writing the onCreate trigger. So we will do export constant schedule post TTL. We will name this trigger the schedule post TTL and simply will make it equal to functions dot from firestore.document. So now here we will pass the path to our document, like where the document when it's created. So this trigger will be triggered and schedule a task in the queue. So we will specify the path. First of all, we will pass the collection. So our collection name is TTL posts slash, and then in the wildcard the post ID. So when there in the TTL post on that post ID, when the document is created on that post ID, so simply we will call the onCreate trigger. Whenever the post is created in the TTL post on the post ID, simply this triggered will be triggered, and this will be an asynchronous, will give us the snapshot and an arrow function upon the body, and that is how our schedule post TTL onCreate method is going to look like initially. To ensure that this method is called, simply you will write a console.log and some message inside. That will be schedule post TTL started. And then here we need some variables. First of all, we need the document data to deal with the post document that is created. So simply here we will create a constant variable for the post data to access the post document, and the post ID accessed from the same post data, the post that is created, and the expire seconds from the post data. I just named this expire millisecond to seconds, so you can name it expire milliseconds, because these are stored in the milliseconds epoch from the Firestore timestamp. So we got this basic variables in here. Now we need to calculate the time. So to calculate the time, we are going to have this, the expirations at second. We make it equal to expire seconds, that is the current time in the seconds. In the milliseconds, I just name it the expire seconds. So anyways, you can name it expire milliseconds. I just add 2 multiply by 60 and multiply by 1000. So it means 2 minutes in the future. And yes, you can send your timestamp from the client side or the application side so that you can use that timestamp to schedule the task in the queue using that timestamp. But I'm doing it just like this, just for showing you that how this process is going to work. So after having our expiration seconds in the future 2 minutes, next we need some information of the queue and of our project. So that will be used to create the task in that specific queue using that location and that project ID. So we also got the queue in here, and next now we need to initialize the cloud task client as we have imported in here. So let's go for initializing it in here. So after the task has been initialized, next we need an accurate path to the queue, so that will be used to create the task in that specific queue. So to create the specific or an accurate path in the variable, simply we will do using this task client, we will create one more variable named queue path, its type is string, from the task client, queue path, pass the project, the location, and finally the queue that we have created in the previous video. So having this queue path, next we need a payload and the name of the task. So for that we will create two more variables. The payload, we pass the post ID in there, and the task name, the projects in the project locations, location, and the queues, the specific queue and the task. So now you might be thinking, why such a long name for the task? That is because the cloud tasks name use the hierarchical naming scheme in order to avoid the misunderstanding in the naming conventions of the cloud task, and also to avoid the unexpected behavior of the task. So just because of this, our task name is going to look like this. And next, the final thing that is required is to create the configuration or an object for the task and pass all of the data like the payload and the task name. So let's create also that. So our task is going to look something like this. The name, we pass the task name, that is simple a path to the tasks, and we name our task the my task, we pass the post ID and also the expire seconds for making it unique across all the other tasks in the queue. And also next we have used the HTTP request, so whenever this task schedule time is completed and it's time for dispatch, so simply it will send request on the location in the project. On the cloud functions there will be a scheduler callback function and will send there a post ID as a query param. So we will access this query param in this post request, and using that post ID we will finally delete this task from the Firestore document. And here in the body we are simply sending a payload by simply buffer from JSON.stringify that and convert it into string base 64, and simple the headers are content type application JSON. So this is a simple task that would be created with this name, and this will send a post request on the scheduler callback and also send the post ID along with this whenever this time is completed. So after this we need to call only one last method to finally create the task in the queue, or also schedule the task, we can say, in the queue. So that method would be await task client dot create, in the parent pass the specific queue path and the task we have just created. So by having this we are done with our schedule post TTL onCreate trigger. So that will be triggered every time whenever in the TTL post collection there is a document created, and then we will console the log for ensuring that this trigger is called, and then we got some data of the post like the post ID and the seconds, and then we calculate the time in the future for 2 minutes, and we also check if the expiration seconds was undefined, simply do nothing and end the function by return nothing. Next, for the task creation we need something like the project ID, the location, and also the queue name. And next we initialize the cloud task client and also give a specific path of the queue and store it in the queue path variable. Next we have a payload with the post ID and also a name which is following the hierarchical naming scheme of the cloud task. And then we have a task, we pass a name in here with this post ID and expire seconds for making unique across with other tasks in the queue. And this will every time send post request whenever this schedule time is reached on the scheduler callback, and in the scheduler callback we will simply access this post ID that we are sending, and using that we will finally delete the document from the Firestore. So that's how this schedule post TTL method is going to work whenever there is a document created in that TTL post collection. So having this, simply Ctrl S to save this file, and that's it. Now one final thing here we have to do is to export this and default with the schedule post TTL name, because we are going to export it in the index.ts so that will be able to deploy. Next, Ctrl S in here to save it, and here now let's import this. Import the schedule post TTL from the module, from the post, from the schedule post TTL, and then simply pass the schedule post TTL inside. So that was it for this schedule post TTL function. Next we need to write an HTTP function from SAM. This will be on request trigger and its name will be scheduler callback. So now let's copy this name because this task will send the request on this scheduler callback whenever this time is reached. So we also have to create the scheduler task callback and access this post ID and finally delete the post from the Cloud Firestore database. So copy its name and go inside the post, create a new file and name it scheduler callback. And also let's rename it and give an extension to this .ts. And here we will do export constant scheduler callback will be equals to, let's go and copy the functions from here and paste it in here. This will be functions.https.onRequest and there is going to be asynchronous, again the parentheses, and inside this the request and response, the arrow function and the body open. So we are done with the scheduler callback creation. Now inside this we will access the post ID from the request, as whenever this is requested we are also sending the post ID. So we will access this post ID and using that we will delete the document from the Firestore. So let's go to the scheduler callback and in here first let's access the post ID from the request. That is how we can access the ID from the request. Request query post ID as the string. So we got the post ID. Next we have to do put a try catch block and await from the Firebase admin from the Firestore collection the TTL post document on that specific post ID that we have received from the request. Delete that post from the Firestore document and send the response of 200 success. The post was successfully deleted. And also if there was some error, simply we will send the console log the error and the status response of 500 and send with the error. And also for this admin to access the Firestore from here, we also need to import the admin Firebase admin from the core Firebase admin singleton. Now Ctrl S to also save this scheduler callback. So having this, we are done with our scheduler callback also. From the schedule post TTL, whenever a post is created, we are simply scheduling a task for this. In the future, 2 minutes using this expiration at seconds. And here we are also doing the method floor in R2, remove the decimal values from here, and this required only the integer values. So we are using the expiration at seconds in here, and that expiration at second is in the future 2 minutes. So whenever a 2 minutes has been passed, so this will call the scheduler callback and will delete the document from the Firestore database. So after this, let's go to the index.ts and also import the scheduler callback in here, scheduler callback, and from the post from the scheduler callback. So that's it. Now copy this and also pass it in the export. And there is one error from the scheduler post callback. That is because in the scheduler callback we also have to export default the scheduler callback. So this will also be allowed to import it in here. Now also save this and also save the scheduler callback with this default export. So having this, we are done with the schedule post TTL and also the scheduler callback. Whenever the post is created, this will be scheduled in the queue with a task and will be dispatched after 2 minutes, and the post will be deleted from the Firestore. So that was the only logic for scheduling a post in the future and also deleting it whenever the specific time is reached. And yes, you can also achieve your desired time that you wanted. So after this, it's time to deploy these functions and go for the actual testing. So let's open up the terminal, and here we need to first let's clear this, and for deploying the functions we will do Firebase deploy and double hyphens only functions, put the colon and the name of the function that you want to deploy. So first of all, we will deploy the schedule post TTL and hit enter. So this will start deploying the function. So we have to wait some time for this. So when this is deployed, so then we will go for the testing. So the deployment of the first function, the schedule post TTL, has been completed, and now it's time to also deploy the scheduler callback function. So we will simply hit the up arrow button to take this command again and simply change its name to scheduler callback and hit enter, and also wait some seconds also for this. So whenever this final function is deployed, we will finally go for testing it, and you will see it how the cloud functions can optimize the UI and offload the tasks in the background and boost the performance of the application. All of the task execution works and their dispatch, all of the work will be in the background and nothing will be in the front end. So the front end will be optimized and everything will work fine, and post will be scheduled and will be deleted after 2 minutes in the future. So let's wait for it and see how this magic is going to inspire us. So the second function is also deployed, the scheduler callback. Now it's time to go and check them in the cloud functions of the Firebase and go for the logs tab, and then also go for testing them in the application. So after your functions has been deployed, simply you have to come to your Firebase console and come to this functions tab. You will find this in this build and simply open this functions. And here in the functions tab, you will see your functions that you have wrote and just deployed in here. The first one is schedule post TTL and scheduler callback, the one which is going to schedule a task in the queue, and this trigger is onCreate trigger. Here is its path, and the scheduler callback is an HTTP request which will be called whenever the schedule time is reached and it is time to dispatch. And also, if you want to see the logs of the schedule post TTL function and also the scheduler callbacks, here you will see the 3 dots. Simply click this and go for the view logs. So this will take you to a tab where you can see the logs, that what is going to happen. And you may also remember that we have console log a message in the schedule post TTL, so this will also be shown in there whenever this function is called when we create a post in the TTL post collection. So I already have opened the logging tab, so here is the tab of the scheduler callback. Let's restart this, and this is the tab for schedule post TTL. So you will see these 2 logs in here whenever the function is deployed. And now for this, there is also 2 logs because we have deployed these functions. So having this, we are going to take the eye on this schedule post TTL, because when we create the post, we also want to see that log that we have in the schedule post TTL here, schedule post TTL started. So we also expect that to see this in the logs. So let's go for our application and let's start testing this and see what is going to happen. So this is our application, and here we are going to create the post. We already have one created which will not disappear just because when we were creating this there were no logic of scheduling. So this will remain here, and let's leave it just like this and go for creating the new one. So we will name this, or we will write a description for this. We will say simply schedule post for 2 minutes 3 dots, and simply go for uploading it. And this is uploaded. We got that post in here, and let's go for checking the logs and see what is going to happen. Here we are on the tab of schedule post TTL logs. Reload this page and go for checking the logs. We have only 2 logs and we have not seen anything yet. And let's also go for the queue to see if any task is scheduled or not. Come in here and let's also restart this tab to see if a task is scheduled or not. And after some loading, we will see a task, but unfortunately nothing has happened. There might be some problem with the code. So let's go and debug the code again and see what's the problem. So that is the code and the schedule post TTL. First of all, we are creating only the onCreate trigger. This is an asynchronous function which is called after the post is created in the TTL post collection. So we are console log the schedule post TTL started, and also getting the data of the post, obtaining the expiration seconds, and checking a condition, got the queue and the project details, initializing cloud task, accessing the queue accurate path, a payload, the task name and the task itself, and also finally calling the create task. I don't think there is a problem. The code it seems to be right, and the scheduler call back is also correctly accessing the post ID from the request, and there is nothing wrong in this. So in your point of view, what can be the problem? In the schedule post TTL, we are creating the onCreate trigger on the TTL post time to live, TLL, time, live and live. Oh, I see, that is the problem, TLL. And let's also go for confirming it in the Firebase. Is that TLL or TTL? Yes, that is TTL, no, but not the TTL. So here we made the mistake. So we have to make sure this is TTL posts, not the TLL. So that was a problem, because of which we were not able to see any logs in here and no task in the queue and nothing was scheduled. And that was because we are passing the incorrect name of the collection. So we have correct this TTL post. Let's also go for this and copy this and paste it in here to make sure now it's correct. So after changing this, now we have to redeploy this function and test this again. So I hope this time this is going to work, because the all code it seems to be correct, and that was the only problem which was causing and were not allowing us to see any logs and any task schedule in the queue. So Ctrl S to save this file, and let's open the terminal again and run the same command of schedule post TTL and hit enter. Now we have to wait some time and the function will be deployed and we will be ready for going to the next test. So the schedule post TTL function is deployed again, and now let's go for checking the path in the Firebase. So we got in here, restart this, and we will see a path of TTL post and post ID. Now that seems to be correct. And now also here, reload this for seeing some other vlogs. And yes, we got 2 more messages logs of the function is deployed again. Now having this, let's go for testing it again. So these 2 posts will remain in here, and let's go and create one more post and say, hey, now I am really going to be disappeared. Upload this, and after it's uploaded, we got it in here. Now let's go and reload this. We got logs schedule post TTL started. So it means the function is successfully ran, and now it's time to check the schedule post TTL and reload this. And we got no task in here and got completed in last minute. And there is no post in here. It means that is directly dispatched and the post is deleted from the collection. That's weird. Okay, so let's go to the queue and let's refresh that queue after it's been refreshed, and let's go to the code. The code it seems to be correct because the post was scheduled and was deleted before the time is arrived. So now after refreshing the queue, let's try it again by creating the post in here, and let's say this is new post for 2 minutes. That's it. Go for uploading. It's uploaded now. It's here. Let's go and refresh this queue. And the post is still here, not disappeared. And yes, finally we got the post schedule. That's the create time, and on the 3:44 and 51 second the post will be disappeared from the cloud Firestore. Let's go for also in here, and yes, we got the post, this new post for 2 minutes. So we have this, remember this, and that's the code. We have this task schedule in here, and that's the 3, 4, 4 and 5, 1, and we have currently 3, 4, 3, and it's going 4, 6, 4, 7, 4, 8, and that's the post. So let's wait for it and let this time arrive to see some magic together. So only the 51 minutes, not the minutes but seconds, are remaining, and it's going 12, 13, 14 and like this. So let's wait some time for this. So only some seconds are remaining, and when it is reached, you can see the post is gone from here in real time, and there was no load on the UI. Everything was just optimized just like that and was amazing. There was no load on the UI and everything was done on the background, and task is deleted, and you can see we are no more able to see it in here. And let's go and make sure if it's deleted from the Firestore or not. So let's go to the browser, and here you can see we have only 2 posts, and there were 3 before when we came here. The post is of description to schedule post for 2 minutes, and yes, we know that that was the old one, and that is also the old one. Hey, disappeared after 2 minutes, and that was the first when we just came here and there were no logic in there. And also go to the schedule post TTL queue and reload this, and there will no more task in here, and we will see nothing in here. The task is dispatched, the post is deleted, and that was all for scheduling the post in TTL in future 2 minutes. And yes, again, you can schedule a post at your desired time for your applications according to the requirements of your application. And yes, that was it for this episode, and in the next episode we will go for how we can cancel the already scheduled task from the queue. So we are going to perform some update operations, and according to that we will check if something is changed, and according to that we will delete the task from the queue and also delete it from the Firestore database. So yes, in the next episode we will go for cancelling the already scheduled task, and in the final video after the cancelling task we will be considering some potential issues related with the HTTP request, and you will also see it that how our HTTP post request is currently now not secure at all. So that's all we are going to do in the future 2 videos. So stay tuned and subscribe to eTechViral in order to not miss the upcoming amazing videos. So that was it, and I will see you in the next episode.